G'day. It is Duke Stefan here. Tonight, I'm talking about voice projection, and this has specifically been requested by our Crown, who want a little bit of advice. For context, I have been crowned twice in Lockhart, and I also work professionally as an actor in the mundane world. So I know a little bit about this. So without going into a full kind of explanation about how the voice works and all of the actual components within it, the simplest way to explain how you can create better projection, it comes down to two things, and that is relaxation and breath. So breath is created to help carry the voice. So you cannot speak without breath. So if you try it, you won't be able to make a sound. So anytime that you are making sound through your voice, it is because that sound is being carried on the breath. And so obviously it starts, in our diaphragm. We take a deep breath in, and that expands our diaphragm, which sits around the base of the rib cage. That expands out and helps us fill a capacity. You can then actually breathe in sort of deeper and fill the lung as well. And there is a way to actually kind of really stretch yourself out, and you can kind of fill in the space right through. And it feels like you're filling the air into your back as well. Ultimately, you don't need to breathe that deeply for every time you need to speak. But in order to get the voice to travel further, you need more breath. Now, what naturally happens for most people is that when they go to speak publicly, because it is something that most people fear and most people don't warm up their bodies properly, is they get tense. It's a natural thing for us all. Even as an actor, when we go to do any kind of public speaking, there is a level of tension that comes. As an actor, I'm trained, and I continually train myself to be relaxed in those tension situations, so that, we do physical warm-ups, we do vocal warm-ups. All of that is to create relaxation, which helps with resonance. And so resonance is the ability for the sound to vibrate out of the body. And there are some specific resonators in our body that help kind of create the tone for that sound. Some people will say that your entire body is a resonator, and that's true. The looser that your body in its entirety can be, the better quality your sound will be. The more relaxed you are, the further you can project, in a sense, because if your body's tight, it's limiting the amount of support that you can give that breath. So that's why as actors, we do physical warm-ups before we perform, so that we can be relaxed. We can free up the resonators within our body to help carry the sound on more breath. And then the more relaxed we are, and depending on where we place that sound, in which resonators we choose, it will change the tone. So a good quality breath, and a good quality sound rather, generally comes from using this sort of deep chest resonators and out through the mouth resonators. So the first thing that we're looking to do is try and relax our body and be as relaxed as possible. And it's a conscious thing, because naturally, intuitively, our bodies tense up when we get put into a situation where we have to public speak. So as a crown about to stand up in front of a court or deliver a message, as a herald out on a tourney field where you've got to travel, your voice needs to travel far. It is the quantity of breath that will help it travel. So imagine this, that you are standing on the side of a riverbank, and you have somebody on the other side of the riverbank, and you need to get a message to them. Think about what you do. What's the first thing that you do when you go to talk to them? Because it's got to be quite a distance away. Well, the first thing that, if you pictured it in your mind, will probably be you take a deep breath in. Hey! And you have a big call that you do. And the body knows that it needs that breath in order to help it travel further. The problem that we've got is, if we are not conscious about it and we're not careful about it, a lot of people will end up constricting the muscles around their throat to try and squeeze the breath out to push it further. And all that does is it hurts your throat. You get that sense of having scratched your throat. You sort of damage your vocal cords a little bit in the process of doing that. And it stops you being able to have the full range of your voice. So you'll find often that when you do that, well, let me talk about me. I find when I'm in a situation where I haven't warmed up properly and I push my voice too far, I lose the upper register of my voice and I'm not able to actually get a quality sound when I go into my head resonators. So let's talk about what that is. So physically doing a warm up, like as fighters, we'll generally, well, some of us do, stretch our body out and try and loosen the muscles. Do the same thing if you have to speak publicly because you're loosening up your body. So let me see if I can get this. So just underneath our rib cage, where's my rib cage? There it is. It's a little bit too padded there at the moment. But just underneath our rib cage is our diaphragm. So that expands and opens up when we breathe in, which is why we feel like we're getting fat, right? So the diaphragm's expanding. So it's allowing all this air to sink in. And then when we breathe out, that diaphragm constricts and helps for the breath to expand, the breath to escape. So if you don't do anything and you simply allow your body and your breath to relax, if you push this stomach out, it will naturally suck air into your body. Now, I know that sounds like I'm just heavy breathing, but I'm not actually forcing breath in. All I'm doing is expanding my diaphragm, and that sucks the breath in. And when I constrict it, when I contract it, when I push the diaphragm back in, it pushes the air out. So it's kind of the basics of how that works. And so then you can expand this and you can breathe deep into your diaphragm, and then you can expand and breathe into your lungs and that sort of thing as well. So what you want to do in order to project your voice with a lot more ease is be as relaxed as possible. So if you can think about doing some sort of physical warm-ups before you go into court or into herald a tournament or whatever it is that you need to do, that is going to help. So the looser your body is, the easier the sound waves will resonate through your body and come out. So you can imagine that if you have a drum skin and you hit the drum, you get this really nice drum sound. If you put your hand on the drum and stop it vibrating and you hit it, it stifles the sound. So imagine that happening with your body. The tenser that your body is, the more stifled the sound will be, and it doesn't help it travel. The less breath that you have, the least amount of distance it will go. So if you want more distance or more volume or higher pitch, you need more breath. So if you are naturally someone that speaks in a higher pitch, to help it travel further, you're going to need a little bit more breath underneath that to help it travel. So those deep breaths are going to help you get that projection going. So that's a very simplistic view of all of this. There are a lot of vocal warm-ups online. If you look at YouTube, there's some, sort of 5 and 10 minute vocal warm-ups. Those that I found are generally more designed for singers, and they are more about kind of vocal kind of pitches and that sort of stuff. And not a lot of it's actually designed just for public speaking. And so what I would suggest is that do some physical warm up and to loosen the muscles. So any kind of action that you do where you're stretching out, the muscles around the chest, stretch these out. And what I would suggest is, for instance, take a side stretch to prepare your body. Take a deep breath in and really expand that section with the breath. And what you want to do is breathe through the tension. And what's going to do is help expand the muscles and the body out and loosen it up even more. The throat is a conscious one. So, you can do these sorts of things where you kind of warm it up and stretch it through and that sort of stuff. Unfortunately, most of what you're using in there are internal. And it's not that it's holding any space there. It kind of does. But it's more a case of you need to be conscious of not constricting that and forcing it through your throat. You want to really think about how you can stay relaxed. A great little exercise to help open that up and particularly open up the soft palate at the back is you make the k sound as you breathe in and breathe out. And it sounds something like this. and you're trying to engage the soft palate at the back of your throat. And that's a way of loosening that up and helping that kind of stay free. Definitely recommend anything that you can do to stretch out the jaw. So one of the first places that we will tense up is our jaw. That whole adage of biting down on a stick. If you're in the jungle and you have to get your leg amputated, bite down on this stick and it'll take away. It actually works. So the jaw is designed to tense up, and it helps actually mitigate pain for some reason. It's a bizarre body thing, but it works. But what that means is that a lot of us hold tension in our jaw. Now, your mouth is an incredible resonator, and you want to have that loose because that creates a great clarity of sound. So anything you can do to loosen these up. So some people will do these ones where they stretch out the muscles along the jawline. There are some people I know who don't like doing that because it stretches the skin of the face and it will lead to more wrinkles in time. It's entirely up to you. But even if you just massage, like if you really get in and start to massage these muscles that run down the jawline, you'll see how tense they generally are. And once you know it, I apologize because you will always know it, and it's a horrible thing to know. But that's where a lot of tension gets held. Our nose, nasal cavity, the sinuses are actually another resonator. So when somebody speaks with a very nasally voice, it's because the air is traveling through the sinuses and it's coming out through the nose, which is like what most Australians sound like. So it's good to kind of warm these up and loosen these up, because collectively, if all of this is loose, you get a nice tone. And a great little way to kind of work that is to do a me through the nose. Our head resonator is what is that sort of upper, what do you call it, falsetto voice that goes up into your head. So anything you can do to massage the head around here. And although it sounds very bizarre, if you fold yourself over, like you're sort of bent over, like you'll see most actors do those spinal rolls. So you're sort of bent over. You can do this in the downward dog position, like if you are in yoga. Basically, get your head pointing down and do a key sound. And what you'll find is that pushes the sound up into the head resonators, into your upper falsetto voice, and it helps to free that up. And you will actually feel it kind of sitting in your head, particularly when you are upside down. So let it try and find it where it falls through the actual head. It sounds very weird, but it actually works. And so what you're doing is you're kind of warming up those resonators so that you have the full capacity to create good looseness that's going to help the sound travel, because it's not all tight and constricted and restricting the ability for that sound to have the best option to flow out. Same with the chest. You'll see a lot of actors do these ones. That's just about kind of loosening up anything in the chest, and you'll do that. So physically warm up your body, and particularly your head, chest, and your lungs, kind of around the upper body. I personally will warm up my entire body, because if the looser my legs are, the whole thing, the whole body's relaxed. But the looser you are, the more relaxed you are, the better your voice will travel. So it actually helps with projection in a weird way. So there's that. And then it's about breath capacity. So a lot of us, when we get into public speaking, we get a bit nervous, we get tense. The other thing that naturally happens is we start to speed up our speaking. It just naturally increases because we're nervous. And so we start to talk a little faster, and we start to talk a little sharper, and our breath gets a little bit more shallow. And so we lose the breath that is needed to support the sound to actually travel. And so that sense of being relaxed and being conscious in that moment of just staying as relaxed as possible, slowing down and taking your time, will allow you to consciously choose to take in a good deep breath and be as relaxed as possible as you speak, and allow it to travel. So that sense of control, it will feel to you like you are speaking slow motion, because you are taking your time. it isn't really in slow motion. It will be slower than your normal speech patterns, but when it comes to court or it comes to speaking as a herald, the reality is that the audience would rather hear you and hear you clearly than hear it fast. So, and the reality is that more you do this, the easier it becomes, which means the faster you can speak, and because you have more control on that breath. So take your time, slow down, and and consciously take a good deep breath and speak until you run out of breath, and then take another breath. And even if it is mid-sentence, don't worry about that. Just make sure that you've got enough breath underneath the words to support them to travel, because it will not matter to anyone who's listening how short your statements are in the moment if they are clear and well supported. And yes, it sounds a little bit weird, but if you could imagine that as a crown or as a herald speaking in that way, people are going to hear these bite-sized chunks, but they're actually going to hear them, and that's what they want. So that's a very, very quick kind of overview of vocal projection. Loose body, loosen up everything that you can. Go through a physical process, a physical warm up of loosening up the muscles and the joints, so that it helps the resonance and the vibration of your sound to travel. Make sure that you have enough breath in order to support it. So again, going back to that analogy of calling out across the river, the first thing you instinctively do is take a deep breath. So get that breath underneath it, and then only speak until you've run out of breath. Then take another breath and keep going. Don't judge yourself for where that break happens. You will, in time, get better at placing that break where you want it, and learning how to carry the breath a little slower and lose the breath a little slower, so that you can sustain a longer sentence. So as an actor, one of the things that we do is, we'll take a breath in. Actually, this is a great exercise that you can do to help with that. So you take a breath in on a count. So we'd start with 4 and then go to 6 and then 8 and then 12. And so you're breathing in over the course of, say 8 counts. So breathing in over a set count, holding it, breathing out over a set count. Start with 4s and then go to 6s. And they can be different. Like you can breathe in for 4 and breathe out for 8, so that you can take a quick deep breath in and control the breath on a long exhale, which means that you can have a longer sentence. So you can take a deep breath and speak for a longer sentence. Take a quick deep breath and speak for a longer sentence. So that's an exercise that you can do as well to help build that capacity. And breathing in through the tension. So get yourself into a physical position and breathe through the tension. And for all you fighters out there, this is actually an excellent exercise for fighting as well. So put yourself into weird physical positions and just breathe as deeply as you can through that tension. And it will help you to not hold your breath in the midst of a crucial crisis moment in a fight. But yeah, so they're the main kind of things to think about with vocal projection. Be loose, deep breath, and only talk for as long as you have breath. And I think that was probably about a 20-minute explanation to give you those 3 things. So hopefully that was of use. If there's anything that would like explained in more detail, please pop a comment in the comment section. And I suspect that I will do a more constructed version of this down the track, because I do like to talk about it, and I know it's useful for a lot of people. So hopefully that's of use to you. And I'm sorry it was a bit rambly, but I'm sure you'll get something out of it. Cool. Talk to you soon. Bye.